one place to another place, the packet always follows a route.
Yeah.
If in case the packet is following the route of its own choice, we call it a system route. If in case the
Okay.
packet is not following the route of its own choice, maybe we want packet to follow a particular route, then we can call it as a user defined route. Okay. So basically different types of routes are available.
Okay.
See what I'm trying to say is, let me, okay, let's see here.
Hmm.
So let's say this is one network. Maybe in this network we have some machines here,
Hmm.
right? Let's say this is internet. So maybe this is VNet 1, that's machine 1, that's machine 2, that is machine 3, and let's say this is internet, right? So let's say whenever VM1 is communicating to VM3, so here
Hmm.
one machine is communicating to second machine. Now they can be a part of same subnet, they can be a part of different subnet,
Hmm.
but may belong to same network. They may be a part of two different network as well. Or it is also possible one machine is trying to communicate a service over the internet. So whenever one machine is communicating to another machine, the packet will
Hmm.
be following a route. Or let's
Yeah.
say the traffic is coming from internet to VM1, or traffic
Hmm.
is going from VM1 to internet. The packet will be following a route.
Yeah.
Route of its own choice, we call it as system route. Right? So let's say here, when the packet is going, the packet is following the route of its own choice. So we can call it a system route.
This is the same route when we create a VM, it creates a route.
It creates routes, right? So
Okay.
it automatically creating the routes, right? Automatically it is creating the routes.
Hmm.
So basically, we do not create system routes; they automatically gets created. So neither we
Yeah.
are creating them nor we can remove them.
Hmm.
Even if in case you want to delete the system routes, even that is not possible.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say I'm saying whenever packet is going from VM1 to VM3, the packet should always go via VM number 2. Think it like this. Let's say this VM number 1, it's an application server.
Hmm.
Let's say this VM3, it's my DB server,
Yeah.
right? Now this VM1 is public facing. It's internet facing. Maybe let's VM1 has a public IP. So it is accepting traffic directly from the internet, right? Now let's say when the traffic came from the internet, the traffic came along with some vulnerability. It could be any vulnerability, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, man-in-the-middle traffic, HTTP hijacking, HTTP smuggling. Could be any
Okay.
vulnerability.
Hmm.
If VM1 will reach out to VM3, which is my database server, the vulnerability may hit my DB server as well. So what
Okay.
we want whenever traffic is going from 1 to 3, it should always go via VM number 2, right?
Yeah.
It should always go via VM number 2. So we are trying to define this route.
Yeah.
So whenever we have system route and whenever we have user
Hmm.
defined route will have more priority. So we
Okay.
cannot remove the system routes, but we can overcome system routes by creating a user defined route,
More
right?
specific route.
More specific route. See why we are doing this. Maybe this VM number 2, in this VM number 2, maybe we can deploy some packet monitoring software. We can deploy some packet filtering software, some packet inspection software. So this
Hmm.
VM2 is here acting like a next hop. Whenever packet is leaving VM1, first it will hit on VM number 2.
Yeah.
So there is a software called as honeypot. So
Yeah.
basically, when the packet will hit on VM number 2, it will try to inspect the packet. If in case it finds out the packet do not contain it will route the packet to VM number 3. If in case it finds out packet contains some vulnerability, it will drop the packet in there. So
Yeah.
basically, within the network, we are trying to add an extra layer of security.
Okay.
And it is not only for a single machine. Think it like this. Let's say we have a subnet here. So maybe we can call this as a public subnet.
Hmm.
Any machine which is public facing may fall into this public subnet.
Yeah.
Then we may have a private subnet. any machines which are really important for us, could be a DB servers, domain controllers, DNS, anything. So may
Mhm.
fall under this private subnet. So
Okay.
maybe what we want whenever any packet is going from public subnet to private subnet.
Mhm.
So here we can have a DMZ subnet.
Yeah, like a proxy or like a bastion.
Yeah, Bastion is basically for RDP. This is
Yeah, you can say like anything honeypot you're saying or an, yeah.
right. So let's say this is DMZ subnet. This is demilitarized zone. Sometimes people also call this as perimeter subnet. So
Okay.
whatever packet is passing from public subnet to private subnet, all the packet will be passing via this machine. Right?
Okay.
All the packets will be passing via this machine. So we are basically trying to add an extra layer of security here. Now, how do we do this? How do we create this user-defined route? We need to create this route. In order to create the user-defined route, we need to create something called as route table.
Okay.
Inside this route table, we can create the routes. And when we will be creating the routes, we need to define the next hop. And we have 5 options for the next hop. It could be a virtual network. It could be a virtual network gateway. It could be virtual appliance.
Mm-hmm.
It could be internet, and it could be network. So we have these 5 options for the next hop.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, we can see VM number 2 is acting like a next hop. So
Okay.
VM number 2, it is neither a virtual network, nor a gateway, nor the internet, nor none. It is
Mm-hmm.
basically an appliance which is present virtually.
Yeah.
It is basically an appliance which is present virtually. So it is basically acting like a virtual appliance. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Any question, any query, anything so
All
far?
good, bhai. All good.
Let's see how can we implement this as well. See. So now we'll do a lab on the firewall, and along with that, we will also try to complete this user-defined route as well. So we have one
Okay.
more service in Azure for security called as firewall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now this firewall, it basically a PaaS service. It is basically a platform as a service.
Yeah.
Many times people also call this as FAAS. Many times people also call this as firewall as a service. Right? It
Okay.
basically falls under the category of PaaS service. It
Okay.
has got unrestricted cloud scalability. Means if more and more traffic will hit on the firewall
Mm-hmm.
would be able to get more and more resources and would be able to handle the traffic.
Okay.
So it has basically got unrestricted cloud scalability. It is also stateful in nature.
Yeah.
Right? This firewall is basically
Stateful.
stateful in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now let's say this is our network.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in this network, this is our subnet from where one machine is getting an IP.
Mm-hmm.
In order to create the firewall, we also need to have a dedicated subnet. Then only we can create this firewall. So let's say, let's do the naming convention. So I'm saying this is VNet number 1. Maybe I'm saying 10.1.0.0/16. And let's
Okay.
say I'm creating it in West US. Right now I'm saying this is my subnet number 1/24. And this is my VM number 1.4. And for the better security of this machine, we are giving no public IP and
Mm-hmm.
no public ports are open. So neither we are giving it any public IP nor we are leaving any public ports open for the better
Okay.
security of this machine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this machine is getting IP from here. Now, before we create this firewall, we need to create a dedicated subnet for the firewall. So we call this as Azure Firewall subnet. And maybe we can have 10.1.1.0 slash, we can go with 26 as well, or if in case you want you can go with 24 as well, right?
So one VNet will have only one Azure firewall subnet.
One firewall subnet, absolutely.
Okay. And 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 one service. Subnet, because subnet can be bigger also, right? Can we have multiple Azure firewalls within that same subnet?
Can we have multiple Azure firewall? Okay, see, you can have, okay, what is the purpose of having multiple firewalls? Purpose
Say
is,
like
uh-huh.
Yeah, so one more question is like, say we have VM1, we have two subnets within the VNet. I
Hmm.
want a separate firewall for one subnet and separate firewall for second subnet, though both subnets are in the same VNet.
Okay. See, what we can do is we can have firewall with multiple public IPs,
Mm-hmm,
right? So maybe any traffic that has to go to subnet number one, it will be the traffic will be hitting on the public IP one of the firewall,
mm-hmm,
and then it will be sending the traffic to subnet number one.
mm-hmm.
Any traffic that we want to be diverted to subnet number two, maybe I have a different IP for that. So
Public
firewall would be
IP.
same. Yeah. See,
Mm-hmm.
firewall will have public IPs
Yeah,
where traffic will be hitting. So maybe if I want to have segregation between two different subnets, when traffic will be hitting, I can have two different IPs.
service will be one.
You can create multiple as well, but here we don't figure out any reason of creating multiple.
But I mean, if we want to, we can have separate firewall, separate
Absolutely.
public IP,
Absolutely.
because every firewall will have firewall rules, right? So I want to keep one subnet firewall rules one side. I want to create another subnet rules firewall separately. So if we want to do, we can do it.
Absolutely. See, absolutely doable. But same thing is also doable with one firewall as well. In one firewall, you can have multiple rules. See, basically, when you will be defining a rule, you will be defining the destination as well.
Yeah.
In destination, first you will be mentioning subnet number one IPs. In second, you will be mentioning subnet number two IPs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And right. So basically, IPs will be different. If in case you want, they should not hit on the same IP of firewall, then we can have different IPs. See, I'm not denying that we cannot have multiple. We may have multiple. But
Mm-hmm.
whatever we have discussed so far can be achieved with the help of one firewall with two IPs as well. That is even possible. See,
Yeah.
let's say I'm
I
saying,
just want to see if it's possible. But yeah, if we don't need one is enough.
right, okay. So let's say this firewall, I'm saying this is after creating this firewall subnet, I can have the Azure firewall. So whenever you will be creating a firewall, you have to give a name to it. Let's say I'm just calling it as AZ firewall. You can
Mm-hmm.
give it any name of your choice. My firewall, firewall one, Jitin firewall, whatever name you wish to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then this firewall will have two IPs. One is a public IP. Let's say I'm calling it as firewall public IP, and one is the private IP,
Mm-hmm.
which it will get from the firewall subnet.
Yeah.
So what would be the private IP?
10.1.1.0/26.
10.1.1.0.
Yeah.
Okay. See, in Azure, first four IPs are reserved and last IP is reserved.
Mm-hmm.
So dot zero, dot one, dot two, dot three is reserved.
Mm-hmm.
Network ID, default gateway, DNS, right?
Yeah.
So it will get an IP dot four, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm saying, let's say this is internet,
Mm-hmm.
and this is we are considering as internet, and I'm saying this is my laptop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, is it possible? Can I do the RDP of this VM number one from my laptop?
No, it doesn't have a public IP.
It doesn't have a public IP, right? So one option is I can give it a public IP.
Yeah.
If it is only about RDP, I can also use Bastion.
Yeah.
But what about if I want to access VM number one as an application server? Or maybe I would like to access this VM number one as a DB server, or maybe as a domain controller, or maybe as a DNS server. Then it is not possible with the help of Bastion, right? So
Yeah.
how can we do it? Maybe from my laptop via
Internet.
internet, we can hit on the firewall public
Firewall.
IP,
Yeah, and firewall can NAT.
right? And here in the firewall, we can create the NAT rules.
Yeah.
So it will be destination NATing.
Mm-hmm.
We are creating NAT rules. Let's say network address translation is what we are doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the help of NAT rules, we can hit on this VM number one on its private IP. If we want to do the RDP, we will hit on port 3389. If we
Mm-hmm.
want to access it as a web server, we will hit on port 80 or 443. If we want to
Mm-hmm.
access it as DNS, maybe 53,
Yeah.
right? So basically we can access this machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to see this practically too. See, let's say I am starting by creating a virtual network. I may say create. Let's say I call this as RG Firewall. We are doing a firewall lab. Right. VNet number one, and I'm creating this in East US, right? Now we have
Okay.
two options. We can create the Azure Firewall while creating a virtual network. If in case we haven't deployed the firewall while creating a virtual network, we can create it after creating the virtual network as well. So both options are available, right?
Okay.
So let's say when I go to next, see here we have an option to enable the Azure Firewall. So we can even do it while creating a virtual network. If in
Okay.
case you want to do that later, we can do that later on as well, right? Let's
Okay.
say I
Understood.
enable it right away. What is the firewall name? In the
Yep.
diagram, I gave it a name Easy Firewall.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to have a firewall subnet, right? And it will also
Yep.
have a public IP. So let's say
Yep.
I'm calling this as firewall public IP. That is the name I have given, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next, what is this network range? Let's say I'm saying 10.1.0.0/16. And now we have two subnets. This is the first subnet. Let's say I'm calling it as subnet 1.
So the Azure subnet is automatically by default /26.
This firewall subnet. Yeah, you can change it if in case you want. But by default, so many IPs are not needed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like firewall, if you need only one firewall, it's a management IP, right? So then we don't even need these one big.
Yeah, see, when we will be doing subnet, then these IPs will be used. Or when we will be creating the user-defined routes, then also they will be used. We will see it.
Oh,
See,
okay.
apart from this IP, apart from 0.4, other
Hmm.
IPs will also come in use.
Okay. 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 I didn't knew that. Okay.
I'll show you. So
Okay.
basically, when we will be taking this concept now with firewall, then we
Hmm.
will see that this IPs will be used. When we will be doing user-defined routing, then
Okay.
apart from .4, other IPs will also come in use.
Okay. ठीक है ठीक है. Hmm.
So let's say I'm saying this is Azure Firewall, right? This is a firewall subnet, and I can say review in. So
Hmm.
what we are deploying in a single go, see now we are deploying VNet 1,
Hmm.
Subnet 1, Firewall Subnet, and Azure Firewall. All these will be
Hmm.
deployed in a single go. Only thing which is left to be deployed is VM number 1, right?
Yeah.
So let the network be created, and then we will create VM number 1 as well. Let's wait for a moment. So I think this network is now deployed. The firewall deployment will take some time. So let's deploy VM1.
Okay.
And while deploying VM1, we will ensure it should not have any public IP and it should
Yeah.
not have any public ports open, right? So
Yeah.
let's say create. Maybe I'm saying in the same resource group, VM1, invest US. Let's say deploying it as Windows Server 2019.
Hmm.
Okay. Now I can give it a resources. Let's say giving it 4 CPU, 16 GB. I can give it a username. I can also give it a password.
Yeah.
Right? For the better security, we are ensuring no public ports are open, not
Yeah.
leaving any public ports open. Then we can go to networking. I'm saying it should get IP from VNet 1, Subnet 1, and no public IP.
Yeah.
This machine is not getting any public IP and no public ports are open, right?
Mhm.
So we can go to monitoring, we can say boot diagnostics disable, and now we are deploying this machine.
Okay.
So let the machine be deployed. Let's wait for the. Okay, so now we are able to deploy this, right? So basically this
Mhm.
deployment is done.
Yeah.
So now we can go here. So we can see this machine do not have any public IP, right? So we can't do the RDP directly, right? So let's say
Mhm.
what I want to do first, maybe I want to do the RDP of this machine. Then maybe I want to make this machine as web server. And then from my laptop, I will try to access it as the web server as well, right?
Yeah.
But for all these things to happen, we need the firewall. So let's say we can now go to our firewall.
Yeah.
So when we go to our firewall, let's try to see one more thing. Can I create one more firewall? Let's say this one firewall is already there, right? So can
Mhm.
I have multiple firewalls? Let's check it out as well. So if I
Yeah.
say create, let's say I'm creating it in the same, let's say I'm calling it as easy firewall 2, right?
Mhm.
Let's say I'm going with a standard firewall. Use firewall rules. Okay, use the existing network, right?
Mhm.
So can I have VNet number one?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, it is basically,
We have to create a firewall subnet in that first.
no, it's there. It's basically saying for force tunneling, it requires one more subnet. That is Azure Firewall Management Subnet. So we will create
Yeah.
that. Let's say I'm
Yeah.
calling
That's.
it as Firewall Public IP2,
Mhm.
right? And let's say in this network, I can go to subnets. I can say the purpose is firewall management.
Mhm.
This will be done shortly. No,
So that's what I asked. Like, so management is different subnet, and usable IPs are different subnet that we use for netting and all.
that's right. So now
Mhm.
this management will also needs to have a public IP.
Mhm.
Let's say I'm saying management firewall public IP. I can say okay. This forced tunneling is done, but I think I need to refresh the page.
Mhm.
I have to fill the information again. Let's say I call this as Easy Firewall 2,
Mhm.
standard one, Firewall 2's existing one. So it's saying firewall subnet is already associated with the Azure Firewall. I don't think it will let us do it.
Hmm. Did it created a firewall on its own when we created a subnet in the VNet?
No, no, no. See, we have firewall number one. I think it will not let us have multiple firewalls for the same network. See, when I'm going for the existing network,
Hmm.
for the same network, when I'm trying to create the second firewall, it's saying firewall subnet is already associated to the Azure firewall.
So in that case, we can't make two firewalls. Then that means.
Let's, let's check in the premium stage. No, I don't think it will let us do it.
Okay. So we can agree that okay, it will have one firewall. Okay.
Let's say firewall public. Yeah, let's check it out.
Even my office use only one firewall. So I was always curious that they did it knowingly or.
Yeah, I think for one network we can only have one.
Mm, okay, it's fine.
If I say review and create, it's not letting us do it.
It's okay. So when you created VNet, it automatically created a firewall?
No, when we were creating the virtual network, we enabled the firewall. See, if I
Yes.
show you
Uh,
that firewall it has created. That is firewall one. So when we were creating the virtual network, when we say okay, we would like to create the virtual network,
mm-hmm,
let's say same resource group, but maybe different virtual network. Let's say VNet 2. So
mm-hmm.
here we enable the firewall. If you recall, here we enable the
Yeah,
firewall.
we
No?
enabled it. Yeah.
Enable means we are saying that while creating virtual network, we also want to have Azure firewall.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so it created on its own when we
It
selected
deployed.
it. Okay,
Yeah, it deployed. If you
okay.
don't select it, then it will not create it. If we are selecting
Mm,
this, means we want firewall to be created along with the network.
understood.
Right? Okay. So basically now here, now we can go to our firewall. So when we go to our firewall, we can see our firewall will have two IPs. One is public and one is private, right?
Mm-hmm,
So let's say when we go here, so this is the private IP of the firewall 10.1.1.4.
mm-hmm.
And here we have the public IP. This is a
Yeah.
public IP, firewall public IP. So
Mm-hmm.
if I click on this, I can even pen down the IP address as well. This is the IP address 20 dot
Okay.
something dot something dot something, right?
Okay.
Right. If in case you want, you can just, if in case you want to have multiple public IPs, we can do that. See, we can
Okay.
simply go to settings, we can go to public IP configuration. From here
Mm-hmm.
as well, we can find out this public IP.
Mm-hmm.
And if in case we want this firewall to have multiple public
Oh,
IPs,
yeah.
we can add from
Add
here.
a public IP. Okay.
Now what I want to do, see this is our machine number one. I want to take the RDP first, then I want
Mm-hmm.
to deploy the web server role in this,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to access the web server from my
Okay.
laptop, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll add the NAT tool. I'll say NAT.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the name? Let's say VM number one rules. We are creating some rules for VM1. Priority, we can give it any number between 100 to
Yeah.
65,000. Let's say 300. It's a destination NAT rule, right? Name. Let's say
Yeah.
I'm creating this RDP rule.
Mm-hmm.
How traffic will be coming? If we know it is coming via TCP, we may select
Mm-hmm.
TCP. If in case we are not sure, we can select both. Although RDP
Okay.
traffic will be coming via TCP, but for
Mm-hmm.
any rule where we are not sure, we may select both as well.
Understood.
Now it says source type, source then IP address. So can you please tell me what should I put in the source IP address?
We have to, I think, put any because we don't know our laptop's IP yet for now. But if we know public IP, we can put it.
Right. So if in case we want that RDP can be taken only from my laptop,
Yeah.
then I can find out the IP address of my laptop. I can say what is my IP address.
Yeah.
I would be able to figure out the public IP of my laptop. I can only put this public IP. If in
Yeah.
case you want RDP can be taken from 10 IPs, I can mention those 10 IPs over here.
Understood.
If in case we want it can be taken from anyone, we can simply go to
Yeah.
wildcards.
For now, we can do any. Yeah.
Any. So what should we put in the destination address?
VMIP.
Okay. See, for my laptop, I'm not trying to hit directly on VM number one. For my laptop, destination is always firewall. I'm trying to hit on the firewall. Firewall will
Okay.
be doing NATing. So
Hmm.
destination, ultimate destination is VM1, but for
Yeah.
my laptop, destination is always firewall.
Yeah.
So
Public IP.
public IP of the firewall. So we'll be entering the public IP of the firewall in the destination.
Okay. So this is different here because in the other firewalls like Cisco or Fortinet, we make us actually that's okay. So one is destination.